Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. I've been thinking about many books recently on wanting to read new genres, expanding my taste, all that jazz. However, there are books that I love with my whole heart, and I wish that I could read them for the first time again. There are so many people out there that have not read these specific books that I want to talk about, and I'm so jealous of them. I don't like to call myself a jealous person, even though I am a Scorpio. I am envious of people who have not read these books. I love these books so much, I could yell in everyone's face to read them. Now it's up to them to read, but I would hope that they would want like joy and happiness and like feelings in their life so that they could read these books. So in these recommendations, there are fantasy, contemporary romance, and dark romance books that I want to recommend to you so that you could read them for the first time, and then you would wish on other people to read them and that you too could reread it for the first time again. See, it's just, we're in a circle of life. It's just a constant book recommendations for the best books that I've read. The first genre that I want to talk about is contemporary romance. Get the cozy, get the lovey-dovey book recommendations out of the way, you know. The first one I want to talk about is my favorite cowboy romance that I have read yet. Now, there aren't that many, and they're basically all from the same author. I love this book so much, and it is Heartless by Elsie Silver. It is the second book in the Chestnut Springs series. This follows Cade and Willa. Cade is the eldest of the Eaton brothers. There are 3 Eaton brothers and a sister, but she is a part of another series. Cade is the oldest. He is a grump. He is a single dad trying to take care of the ranch and take care of his son at the same time. He needs a nanny. However, all of the women in this town is obsessed with Cade Eaton. So the female main character in the first book recommends her best friend to become the nanny for Cade. She is Willa. Willa is a wild girl. She's young, but like, I'm pretty sure she's like mid-20s, so around my age, which is crazy. She is a redhead. She goes with the flow. She becomes the nanny. Polar opposites. I'm talking grumpy, sunshine, small town, forced proximity, nanny to the single dad. When I read the first book in the series, I didn't like him. I'm like, oh my gosh, another grump. I don't care about his story. He worked his way into my heart super fast in this book. His relationship with his son and then Willa's relationship with the son is fantastic. I love it so much. Their relationship I'm obsessed with. I wish I was Willa. You also don't think that such a quiet man would have such a mouth on him. And that's all I'm gonna say. The next one is The Dead Romantics by Ashley Poston. This is the first book that I've read from her, and I think about this book all the time. This follows Florence. She's a ghostwriter for a popular romance author. She goes into the office, meets her new editor, and he is this hunky, tall man. She then gets a call that her father has passed away and she needs to go home. So she goes home, she has family issues, she gets a knock on the door, and it's her new editor, her hunky editor. She's like, what are you doing here? You find out that he's actually dead, and she can see dead people. It's a gift that she got from her father. While trying to deal with her own grief, she is trying to help her new editor move on and not linger anymore, and trying to understand why he's still here and how to get him to go away. Not go away, but like have peace, find peace, you know? But then the more they get to know one another, they kind of develop feelings. I love this book so much just because Ashley Poston is an amazing author when it comes to grief. She is the author of also The 7-Year Slip, which many people were obsessed with when it first came out on TikTok. I did enjoy The 7-Year Slip. There was just something that hit closer to home for me with The Dead Romantics. I think it was just the dealing of grief, family issues that come from a death in the family, and how to heal your own grief and your own trauma while also trying to help others too. There is such a deep storyline that I think a lot of people missed when it comes to the plot of this book. Not so much the romance aspect of it, because, you know, it is a contemporary romance. I just love the grief. Like the sorrow, the sadness of this book was my favorite part. And I don't know what that says about me. When I was done with this book, I literally slept with it under my pillow. It was so good. I didn't want to let it go. The last book that I want to talk about in contemporary romance is not going to be a shocker for anyone who watches my videos, and I'm sorry if you're sick and tired of it. I do not care. This is Just for the Summer by Abby Jimenez. I am obsessed with this book so much. I want to be buried with this book. This follows Justin and Emma. Justin posts on this Reddit talking about how he's cursed in all of his relationships that he's had. Every single girl that he dates, when they break up, she goes on to find the love of her life. Emma sees this, reaches out to him, him. And she's like, dude, samesies, okay? Every guy that I've dated, when we break up, they go on and meet the love of their life. What's the deal? So they decide to meet up and make a deal to date for just one summer. Do all of the dating activities that they normally do in a relationship, so when the summer ends, they can break up and then go on to find the loves of their life. Well, things happen along the way. Feelings are coming up while they both have to deal with family issues. The acts of service that Justin does for Emma, I think about all the time. This book is just so amazing all around. If you want romance, you're good to go. If you want swoon-worthy quotes, you're good to go. If you want life lessons, you're good to go. If you want to talk about mental health, you're good to go. Like, there's so many things in this book that if you wanted or not wanted to read, it's in this book. It made me see myself in both characters. And you don't really get that much anymore. I feel like a lot of contemporary romances, there's a lot of superficial, surface level characters, and that is one thing that Abby Jimenez does not do with her characters, and I appreciate that. I guess since we're talking about romance, I'll do the dark romance category, genre. I only have two that I want to discuss, and they're both a series, but it's hard to read a standalone dark romance book that's like legitimately really good. I feel like all of the really good dark romance books are in a series. The first one that I want to discuss is The Predator by Runix. I need to continue, I think I say this all the time, I need to continue on with the series. I'm a big mood reader, and sometimes I don't know what mood I'm in, so a lot of the books that I really want to read, even though I really want to read them, I don't, because I'm not in the mood to read. It's very confusing. Don't come at me because I want to come at myself. You have Marana. She is super smart, tech genius, coder. Her family is rival families with Tristan Kane. He's kind of like an adopted son into this family. He's like the bodyguard. He watches over one of the sons in this family. They do not like each other. From the very beginning, you can tell Tristan Kane hates Marana, and you don't know why, and Marana doesn't know why. So because he hates her, she hates him. They go back and forth, threaten each other throughout the whole entire book. While they're doing the nasty, they are still threatening each other. They, however, have to work together for a common goal. There is something that Marana created, a code that could ruin both of their families, and they're trying to get it back from whoever stole it, so they have to work together in order to find that person or group. I don't really know who it is because obviously I haven't finished the series yet, but this is the first book in the series. Obviously I said like I need to continue on because it's so good. Then the last one is, I don't know if I'll ever read anything as good as this series, and technically it's in one book, but it is a series, and that is the Mind F series by S.T. Abby Stabby. I am talking about a book where the FMC is on a revenge trip. I have never read a FMC with so much fury in her than Lana Myers. She is so smart. The things that she does in this book, I'm obsessed with. Okay, so plot line. Let's talk about the plot first. Lana went through something very traumatic in this town of hers, and she's seeking revenge because of it. While she's doing this, she meets Logan, who is a FBI profiler. He is the leader of the profiling unit at the FBI. They meet, they start dating. He doesn't know that one of the serial killers that he's looking for is his now girlfriend, Lana. This plot is impeccable. Like, I want to reread this for the first time, obviously, because that's what this video is. This is the one that I wish I had never read because I want to re-feel everything that I felt when reading this book. All of the emotions. I laughed. I cried. I felt anger for this FMC. It is just such an amazing series, and it looks hefty, but it's 5 books in this. So each book, I believe, is roughly around 200-300 pages. So they're pretty short books, but they're all in one. However, look up the trigger warnings. There are difficult topics in this book, but the storyline is like reading a Criminal Minds season. Going into our last genre, which is fantasy, I have 3 books that I want to talk about when it comes to fantasy. The first one I want to talk about is Powerless by Lauren Roberts. This was basically my first fantasy that I read. Technically, the first one that I ever read was Caraval, but that was very world building. This one is not. So it was a lot easier to follow. It is a romantasy. It has its own category. This is romantasy. I enjoyed this book so much. A lot of people do not like this book because there are details in here that I guess she takes directly from other books. So, and they're books that I haven't read yet, so I don't really know about that. So that's just on me me because I just haven't read the other books, but I have read this one and I really did enjoy it. It's been over a year since I read this book. I mean, I still think about it. Like I said, very romance driven. Like there's not much happening. It's solely focused on romance. And the things that this man says to the FMC is just so swoon worthy. There's nothing else that I can say because he says it all. He says it to her, about her, dreams about her. Like she has infiltrated this man's mind and he cannot get enough of her. But it's a slow burn, like slow burn, this whole book. You're just like on edge, hoping something will happen between them, and it's just one big tease of a book. If you do not know the plot of this book, you have Peyton. She is the female main character. She lives in this world where people have powers. She does not have powers. People who do not have powers are called an ordinary. She lives on the streets. She's a common thief. She tries to get by. She's going down the street, runs into this man. Later, he gets himself into some sticky situation. She ends up saving him. You find out that he is the son and the enforcer of the king. Somehow, Peyton is then thrown into these games, like Hunger Game trials, with other teenagers that do have powers. She has to still hide that she doesn't have powers. So all she wants to do is survive. She makes an unlikely alliance with the king's son, who she had saved. His name is Kai. He is obsessed with her. Like I said, like he is obsessed with her. He's like, the banter that they have is just like the whole book. And as a girl who loves wit and love banter, I ate up this book. I want to go back and reread it so I can feel again the feelings of the things that he would say to her, because they're just all swoon worthy. This was literally the first book that almost every single page something is either underlined or highlighted or tabbed. There was some pages where I almost underlined the whole both pages of the book. I actually might need to reread this because I haven't read Powerful or Reckless yet, and I know Fearless is going to be coming out in April, so I probably should do a reread of Powerless. So I can probably underline more. Like I've continued on with my underlining and tabbing journey. I'm probably gonna underline more. I'm gonna find things that I didn't underline before, and I literally will be underlining and highlighting every single word. The next one that I want to talk about is not a romantasy. This is a dark fantasy. One Dark Window by Rachel Gillig. I need to find more dark fantasy books. I think something about a dark world and the characters that live in this dark world I love. The magic system was so easy to understand. Well, I was confused at first with the cards aspect of it because you have these 12 cards. They are magic cards in this world. The well-known, the higher up, the royalty people have these cards. It's hard to find a commoner that has these magic cards. Each card gives you something different in the magic department. So you could either like read minds or invisibility, something of that sort that gives you magic. In this kingdom, there is this curse. If you get sick, you could develop this curse. It's cursed magic. Elspeth is the female main character in this book, and she had this sickness when she was younger, and because of that, she has a 500-something-year-old monster living in her head. She has a run-in with two of these thieves in the forest that try to take a card from her. She gets away. You find out that one of the thieves is the nephew to the king, and he is trying to collect all of these cards to then banish this curse from this kingdom. So they end up teaming with one another. That's a little bit of the romance, but again, it's not that heavily focused on romance. It's about their journey. And One Dark Window, Two Twisted Crowns, they are a duology. Two Twisted Crowns is just so amazing. I love that book so much. It is easily a 5 stars, and the only reason why I'm not including it is because I have to read this first in order to read Two Twisted Crowns, but they are a package deal. I want to reread both of them for the first time. I read them for the first time in March of last year, and I wish I could go back and read them because they are just so good. I don't think I appreciated them as much in the moment. I was shocked, I was flabbergasted, I was following the storyline. I need to read more of like gothic fantasy books because I think that's right up my alley. I really enjoyed this. Like I said, not complex at all, very world building. I loved the characters, every single one of them, and the journey that they had to go through. I'm obsessed. And the last one that I want to talk about is kind of fantasy. It's like paranormal. I didn't really know where to include it. Contemporary romance, paranormal. So it's kind of its own thing, but it's Bride by Ali Hazelwood. This is her first and only right now paranormal book that she has written. My favorite. I think it's it could be tied with love theoretically. I need to reread that to see where I'm at, but I reread this in January. I gave it 4 stars originally when I listened to it a year ago. Easily 5 stars when I reread it now. So good. The plot was very entertaining. The characters are entertaining. It's about Misery. She's a vampire. She's forced into a marriage, an arranged marriage, with the alpha werewolf leader, Lo. After they are married, she has to go live with him and his pack, away from her family. It was a forced marriage because it needs to show a good alliance between vampires and werewolves. He can't stand to be around her. She is at this place. There's things going on. There's assassination attempts. It's a whole thing, but it's so good and I love it. I definitely will be rereading this again. Well, those are all the books that I would love to reread for the first time, and I wish I could because they're just so amazing. Each book has something different to offer. I feel like nowadays I've been reading books that follow the same structure, whether it's in dark romance, whether it's in contemporary romance, whether it's in fantasy. They kind of are now all following and blending into the same type of structure for each genre, and I love these books because they seem different to me. I mean, obviously, like I said, Powerless, she took inspiration from other books, but overall, I'm obsessed with all of these books. I enjoyed them thoroughly front to back, and I wish I could reread them for the first time. So if you haven't read these books before, I highly, highly recommend. If you have books that you wish that you could reread for the first time, let me know in the comments down below. I mean, I got a never-ending TBR list, so I'll just add them to that. But if you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe for more videos to come. If you want to follow me on any other social media platforms, I post mostly on TikTok, but if you want to follow me there, I have them all linked down below in the description, and I hope to be seeing you in the next video. Bye.